Crimea is back in the spotlight. A sudden Ukrainian move has shaken Russia, worried NATO, and shocked the entire world. Is this the beginning of a new phase in the war, or a dangerous gamble that could change everything? Stay with us, because what's happening right now could rewrite the future of Eastern Europe. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are discussing a development that has once again placed Crimea at the center of global attention. After months of relative silence, Ukraine has made a bold move that signals its long-term intentions regarding the peninsula. This action has surprised military analysts, concerned diplomats, and triggered intense debate across international media. Crimea, which was annexed by Russia in 2014, has remained one of the most sensitive flashpoints in the ongoing conflict. Any shift involving this region automatically raises fears of escalation. Ukraine's latest step is not just symbolic, it carries strategic, political, and psychological weight. Supporters see it as a message of resilience and resolve. Critics argue it could provoke a harsh response from Moscow. Meanwhile, civilians on both sides are left wondering what comes next. This move also tests the patience and unity of Ukraine's Western allies, who have supported Kyiv but remain cautious about direct confrontation. As the war drags on, moments like these redefine momentum. In this video, we will break down what happened, why it matters, and how it could reshape the future of the conflict. Stay with us as we analyze the facts, the reactions, and the possible outcomes connected to Ukraine's daring decision regarding Crimea. Ukraine's move concerning Crimea did not happen overnight. It is the result of months of planning, battlefield experience, and shifting confidence within Kyiv's leadership. Since the start of the conflict, Ukraine has gradually expanded its operational reach, proving it can strike strategic targets beyond front lines. Crimea holds immense military value for Russia, acting as a logistics hub, naval base, and symbol of control. Any challenge to this region sends a powerful message. Analysts believe Ukraine's action was carefully calculated to avoid immediate large-scale retaliation while still applying pressure. This balancing act reflects a new phase of Ukrainian strategy. Rather than only defending territory, Kyiv appears focused on undermining Russia's sense of security. International observers note that even limited actions in Crimea force Moscow to divert resources. Air defenses, troops, and surveillance systems must be strengthened, stretching Russian capabilities. At the same time, Ukraine gains psychological leverage, demonstrating that no area is entirely untouchable. This approach aligns with modern warfare principles, where perception and morale matter as much as territory. While details remain closely guarded, the intent is clear. Ukraine wants to keep Crimea relevant in global discussions, ensuring it is not forgotten or accepted as permanently lost. The message resonates far beyond the battlefield. The international reaction to Ukraine's move was swift and divided. Western governments responded with carefully worded statements, emphasizing Ukraine's right to defend itself while urging restraint. Diplomats understand that Crimea represents a red line for Russia, and any escalation could widen the conflict. At the same time, many European leaders quietly acknowledge that ignoring Crimea entirely could weaken Ukraine's negotiating position in the future. Media coverage exploded within hours, with headlines highlighting the risk of escalation and the possibility of retaliation. Military experts appeared on news channels, debating whether this move could shift the balance of power. Meanwhile, Russia condemned the action, calling it provocative and dangerous. Official statements from Moscow warned of consequences, though specifics were left vague. This ambiguity itself plays a role in psychological pressure. Global markets also reacted nervously, reflecting fears of instability in energy supply routes. Social media amplified every development, often mixing facts with speculation. For ordinary people around the world, the situation reinforced how fragile the current geopolitical environment remains. A single move in a disputed region can ripple across continents. The global response shows that Crimea is not just a regional issue. It remains a symbol of unresolved tensions, shaping international security today. From a military perspective, Crimea's importance cannot be overstated. The peninsula provides Russia with access to the Black Sea and serves as a launch point for naval and air operations. Ukraine's decision to challenge this space, even indirectly, forces a reassessment of defensive priorities. Military analysts note that modern conflicts increasingly rely on precision, intelligence, and timing. Ukraine's move appears designed to test these elements rather than trigger immediate confrontation. By applying controlled pressure, Kyiv gathers valuable information about Russian responses. This includes reaction time, defensive coverage, and command coordination. Such data is crucial for long-term planning. At the same time, Russia must respond without appearing weak, which limits its options. Overreaction could damage its international standing, while underreaction could embolden Ukraine. This strategic dilemma benefits Kyiv. Additionally, The move sends a signal to Ukrainian forces and citizens, reinforcing belief in eventual territorial restoration. Morale plays a decisive role in prolonged conflicts. Even symbolic actions can sustain public support during difficult periods. For Ukraine, keeping Crimea within the narrative of achievable goals is essential. Militarily and psychologically, this development adds a new layer to an already complex conflict landscape. Russia's internal response to the situation around Crimea is equally important. State-controlled media quickly framed Ukraine's action as aggression encouraged by the West. This narrative aims to justify defensive measures and maintain public support. Within Russia, Crimea carries deep symbolic value, often portrayed as a historic achievement. Any threat to it challenges the credibility of leadership. Analysts suggest this puts additional pressure on decision-makers in Moscow. They must reassure the population while avoiding actions that could provoke broader conflict. Increased security measures in Crimea have already been reported, including tighter controls and heightened military readiness. Such steps indicate concern, even if officially downplayed. At the same time, Russia may use diplomatic channels to warn Western governments against further support for Ukrainian actions involving Crimea. This dual approach, combining military readiness with diplomatic pressure, reflects standard crisis management strategy. However, prolonged tension carries risks. Maintaining heightened alert levels strains resources and personnel. It also increases the chance of miscalculation. A single misunderstanding could escalate rapidly. Therefore, while Russia projects confidence, the situation remains delicate. Crimea's status continues to influence internal politics and external relations in profound ways. For Ukraine, the move regarding Crimea also serves a political purpose beyond the battlefield. It reinforces the government's commitment to territorial integrity, a key promise to its citizens. Public opinion within Ukraine strongly favors reclaiming all occupied territories, including Crimea. By keeping the issue active, leaders demonstrate alignment with national sentiment. This is particularly important as the war stretches on and fatigue grows. Internationally, Ukraine aims to remind allies that the conflict's original causes remain unresolved. Accepting the status quo could set a dangerous precedent in global politics. Smaller nations watch closely, concerned about the implications for sovereignty. Ukraine's stance challenges the idea that forceful annexation can be normalized over time. This resonates with countries that value international law. At the same time, Kiev must balance ambition with caution. Maintaining Western support requires avoiding actions perceived as reckless. So far, responses suggest Ukraine has stayed within acceptable limits. The move appears designed to provoke discussion rather than direct confrontation. Politically, this keeps Ukraine at the center of diplomatic engagement. It ensures Crimea remains part of any future negotiations, rather than a forgotten issue quietly removed from the table. The broader geopolitical implications of renewed focus on Crimea are significant. NATO members are closely monitoring the situation, assessing potential risks to regional stability. While the alliance has no direct involvement in Crimea, any escalation could affect neighboring countries. The Black Sea region is strategically vital, linking Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Increased tension here impacts trade routes, energy security, and military planning. Some analysts argue that Ukraine's move could encourage stronger deterrence measures from NATO, including increased patrols and surveillance. Others caution that visible military buildup could heighten tensions unnecessarily. This debate highlights differing approaches within the alliance. Meanwhile, non-aligned countries observe how major powers respond. Their reactions shape future diplomatic alignments. The situation also tests global institutions tasked with conflict prevention. Calls for dialogue and de-escalation grow louder during moments like this. Yet, history shows that unresolved disputes rarely disappear without sustained pressure. Crimea's renewed prominence forces the international community to confront uncomfortable questions about enforcement of international norms. The outcome will influence how similar conflicts are addressed in the future. In this sense, Crimea is not just about Ukraine and Russia. It is about global order. Economic factors also play a role in the renewed attention on Crimea. The region is connected to sanctions, trade restrictions, and investment risks that affect both Russia and global markets. Any sign of escalation triggers concerns among investors, particularly in energy and shipping sectors. Ukraine's move has already caused fluctuations, reflecting uncertainty. For Russia, maintaining control over Crimea involves significant financial costs, including infrastructure, security, and subsidies. Increased tension raises these costs further. For Ukraine, keeping pressure on Crimea reinforces arguments for continued international sanctions. Supporters believe sustained economic pressure limits Russia's ability to prolong the conflict. Critics argue sanctions have mixed results and can hurt global economies. Regardless, economic considerations influence decision-making on all sides. Governments must weigh military objectives against financial stability. Public tolerance for economic hardship also shapes political choices. As inflation and energy prices remain sensitive issues worldwide, developments around Crimea gain additional relevance. What happens in this disputed peninsula can affect households far beyond the region. This interconnectedness underscores why global attention remains fixed on Ukraine's actions and Russia's responses. Looking ahead, several scenarios are possible following Ukraine's bold move. One option is controlled tension, where both sides avoid major escalation while maintaining pressure. This could lead to prolonged standoff, with Crimea remaining a focal point of strategic maneuvering. Another possibility involves increased diplomatic engagement. Renewed attention on Crimea might push stakeholders toward dialogue, even if progress is slow. A more dangerous scenario includes miscalculation, where limited actions trigger unintended escalation. History shows that conflicts often intensify through small steps rather than grand decisions. Analysts emphasize the importance of communication channels to prevent misunderstandings. For Ukraine, sustaining momentum without crossing critical thresholds is key. For Russia, preserving deterrence while avoiding isolation remains a challenge. The international community plays a crucial role in shaping outcomes through messaging and mediation. Public narratives also matter, influencing domestic support and policy flexibility. As information spreads rapidly, managing perception becomes as important as managing forces on the ground. Ultimately, the situation remains fluid. Crimea's future will be shaped by decisions made under pressure. Ukraine's move ensures that those decisions cannot be postponed indefinitely. As we conclude, it is clear that Ukraine's move has brought Crimea back into global focus. This development highlights how unresolved conflicts can resurface at any moment, reshaping priorities and perceptions. Crimea remains more than a disputed territory. It symbolizes competing visions of security, sovereignty, and international order. Ukraine's action reflects determination to keep its claims alive, while Russia's response underscores the sensitivity of the issue. For the world, this moment serves as a reminder of the fragile balance underlying global stability. How leaders handle such moments determines whether tensions cool or escalate. Continued attention, responsible reporting, and diplomatic engagement are essential. The story of Crimea is still being written, and its next chapter will have lasting consequences. Thank you for watching this analysis. If you found this breakdown helpful and want more clear, unbiased updates on global conflicts, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an important story.